Adoptions are absolutely happening. In fact, the number of adoptions is not decreasing at all. The number of families wanting to adopt or hoping to adopt seems to be decreasing or on the low this year. And I'm pretty positive we aren't just seeing that at RG Adoption Consulting, because I've heard over the past year more and more agencies say we need families, which is not something you typically hear in adoption. Which I guess for you is a good thing. If you are thinking about adoption, maybe there's less quote unquote competition.
Welcome to the Adoption Roadmap Podcast, your go-to guide through the beautiful, complex, and transformative journey of adoption. I'm Rebecca Gruenspan, a single mom through adoption consultant for over a decade, author of the Adoption Roadmap book, and your trusted guide. In each episode, we dive into real experiences, expert insights, and the raw, honest truths that you will need to navigate your journey. Whether you're just beginning, in the thick of it, or well past placement, you'll find support and community here to help you navigate this unique path with confidence and love. Adoption isn't all rainbows and butterflies. It is life-changing and worth every bit of effort. Let's learn, grow, and journey together on the Adoption Roadmap Podcast.
Hi, welcome to This Week in Adoption. Here I am, another year older, another year wiser, or so I'd like to think. Well, we just had our Q1 meeting, so I'm going to talk about some of the things happening at RG Adoption Consulting, and which is usually kind of relative to what's happening in the world of adoption. And I say that because we work with agencies from across the country, we work with families from across the country, and so typically what we're seeing here is what's happening more broadly. That said, RG Adoption Consulting is a company that helps hopeful adoptive families navigate the adoption journey. In fact, I will read you our vision and transformative statement. We empower families seeking adoption through expert guidance and compassionate support to turn dreams of parenthood into a reality filled with love, understanding, and joy. Our core values, the standards that guide how we as a team show up every day, are responsive. And we met as a team to come up with our core values. And it had been a couple years since we did that, and our team looks a little different. So I wanted to revisit that. And so here's what we came up with for our core values. Responsive. We meet families where they are with empathy and urgency. And I want to tell you that our core values are how we show up as a team, and also how we hope to be, not received, but how we hope our families and our partners will be with us as well. This is what we value in working with people, as well as how we see ourselves showing up every day. So responsive. Efficient. We simplify complex processes to move families forward with confidence and efficiency. Transparent. And in turn, we want people to be responsive to us and efficient with how they work with us, as well as transparent. We build trust by communicating openly and honestly at every step. And accountable. This is a big one. We own our responsibilities and deliver on our promises with integrity. And accountable also came up to me in a number of ways. And this is something that I value a lot in the community that I'm building. It's important for all of us to take accountability, to own our own mistakes or own where we may have gone wrong in the process if something isn't going right, instead of the easy way out, which is placing blame, right? Take accountability. And I think that's so important in life in general, but also as parents, and as we become parents. We love pointing the finger at our children. And we can tell you everything that's wrong with our children, or all their issues, or how they don't do this or don't do that, or they're lazy, or whatever it is. But how often do we look at ourselves as the problem? It's probably not them. So accountability. Those are our core values. So responsive, efficient, transparent, and accountable. Our foundational pillars, the pillars of our service, what families can expect to receive from us within our adoption roadmap model, is education, providing knowledge and tools to help families make informed, empowered decisions now and also in the future as parents. Community, ongoing connection, support, and a sense of belonging throughout the journey. You have heard me talk so much about these two, education and community, being such important pillars in adoption if you're going to adopt. Ethics, a word that is thrown out a whole lot. We hold ourselves to high standards, leading with integrity and respect. And collaboration. We work in partnership with families, with professionals, with experts to create the best path forward. Say that 3 times, best path forward. So those are our foundational pillars: education, community, ethics, and collaboration. Our brand promise is that we vow to navigate the complexities of adoption with transparency, care, and personalized attention, empowering you to make informed decisions at every step of your adoption, of your journey towards parenthood. So that's just some of the groundwork. We read those at least at every quarterly meeting, and we'll be incorporating them more and more as we really look at how our team is performing, and are we acting within our values with everything we do. So, I don't know, something wonky is going on in the world of adoption, and I don't quite have my finger on it, but I think it has to do with just the weirdness of the world right now. I think people are living in fear a lot. The economy is in flux. The world is crazy. Big decisions are being made. There's more hate out there than ever before. And I think it's making people very scared. And I've heard very often, I don't know if I want to bring a baby into this world. It's really sad. It's really sad. Adoptions are absolutely happening. In fact, the number of adoptions is not decreasing at all. The number of families wanting to adopt or hoping to adopt seems to be decreasing, or on the low this year, for the last 2 years actually. And it's really interesting. And I'm pretty positive we aren't just seeing that at RG Adoption Consulting, because I've heard over the past year more and more agencies say we need families, which is not something you typically hear in adoption. So if that goes to show you. Which I guess for you is a good thing. If you are thinking about adoption, maybe there's less quote unquote competition. We worked with 20 new families. We welcomed 20 new families into our community from all over the country, and 15 of our families welcomed babies into their home, and they legally adopted their babies. 15. So it's down a little bit from last year, not too much. But the number of calls that we're getting is definitely decreased, which is just an interesting little fact. One thing we're super excited about is our partnerships. They have increased every year. We are so grateful and appreciative of all of the agencies and attorneys out there working so closely with expectant moms to make sure that if they are moving forward with an adoption plan, that they are matching with the families that they want to be matching with, that they are getting exactly what they are looking for in an adoptive family. So I'm grateful for that. And as such, last year in Q1, we had received 43 adoption situations where an agency or attorney reaches out to us and asks if we have families that might be able to match with an expectant mom based on her criteria and the family's criteria. It has to match. And this year, Q1, so last year was 43. This year, we've seen over 65. 65 that we have actually tracked, and we've gotten at least 3 to 5 additional ones from agencies reaching out and saying, hey, do you have any families in such and such an area? And I might say, no, I'm so sorry. And then we don't even record that. So at least 65 situations. Typically, 20% of that number is matched with one of our families. So that's really exciting. I mean, I remember a few years ago, we got 70 something all year. So that's amazing. Placement stats. And again, this is just Q1, so first 3 months of the year, which are usually not our busiest. We usually have 1 month that's really busy. And for us this quarter, it was February. And then in a lot of times that's March, and the rest are pretty slow. And then later in the year it builds. But at least that's what I've sort of seen. Our placement stats, meaning the families who took placement, of the 15, 10 were heterosexual couples, 2 were single women, 1 same-sex female couple, and 2 same-sex male couples. So 5 of those were non-traditional quote-unquote families, which I'd love to see. Unfortunately, we have heard. Okay, so let me back up for a minute. There are times when I add agencies to the list of agencies that we like to work with, that we like to send families to, and there are times where I take those same agencies off of our list because maybe we are not loving a certain team member on their team, or maybe we have heard too many things that give us pause, or that don't feel like they're doing the right things. And this past quarter, there were a couple agencies that we heard things that were pointing to coercion, and it just hurts my heart and it kills me. And whether it's true or not, it's at least true to some extent, right? And I am always one to hear all sides of the story when I read something, but when we're working super closely with a family and they're able to share with us text messages, or there's other ways where it's like, no, this is clear that this happened. The director or the CEO might not know that happened, but one of their people did XYZ, which is unethical and totally on the crossing that line of coercion. And we heard of a couple incidences that were just so unfortunate this past quarter, which has really given us pause and have made us take a step back from a couple agencies. So we're always trying to keep the pulse of what exactly is going on and who we feel confident working with and who we don't. There's always some lingering questions. Truly, there is not very many agencies where I can say I have never questioned anything. I have never looked at something and said, I don't really love the way they do that, but it's not crossing that much of a line that we can't work with them. Because if we did that, literally, I think there'd be 3 agencies. There is no perfection in adoption at all. It's way too complex an industry to find a place that does everything to your liking. And usually, if I dig deeper, I might be able to understand why they do what they do. Occasionally, I have been able to change their minds about things. Occasionally. And I take great pride in that. And occasionally, my mind has changed. So it's not so cut and dry. But for right now, we're taking a step back from a couple of agencies that we have worked with for years, which makes me very sad. And also what's interesting is we look at which agencies we work with that we've had the most amount of placements with, that our families have placed the most with, and which agencies our families have experienced the most fall throughs with. And every single quarter that we look at this, there's crossover. Usually 1 to 2 of those agencies are on both lists. Sometimes it takes a quick fall through to get a quick placement. Do we want that to happen? No. But what we're finding is that the majority of fall throughs are happening with matches of 1 to 3 months, or 1 to 2 months actually, from less than 1 month to 2 months. Listen, we're going to take those placements all day long. We're not going to stop encouraging our families to match with situations that are really quick, especially if everything looks good. And we're also seeing that those are the ones that are also falling through the most, which is so counterintuitive. You would think that the ones that are longer matches would fall through the most, but it's not. I'd rather have you have a fall through with a quick match than a long match. And a lot of times that leads to a quick second match. Does that make sense? We thought it was going to be the quarter of the girls, but once again, the boys won, but this time just by 1. 8 boys were adopted and 7 girls. Yeah, 8 boys, 7 girls. Last year it was 12 boys, 7 girls. So it's more equal. And as far as race goes, Q1 of the babies race, 33.3%, so a third were white, 13.3% were white mix, and 13.3% were black mix, 20% were Hispanic, and 20% were full African American. Yeah, a little bit of everything, a little bit more, I guess, equal this year. Last year, Q1, we saw 47% Caucasian. It's always, no matter what people think, it's always going to be the majority of babies born and placed are going to be white. The time from signing up with the agencies to adopting, and again, this does not surprise me because during the years of 2020 through the beginning of 2023 were the COVID years, and everything kind of really slowed down to a halt. And only in 2023, 24 did things start picking back up again. I'd say 23. So we are starting to see the last of our COVID families start to adopt, which means that the time that it took people to adopt, more are leaning on that over 1 year, which we typically don't see. But I expect that by next year, that will be back down again. But I think from last year and this year, it's up a little bit higher than we normally see. So let's see, about 4 people adopted between 1 to 3 months of signing up with their agencies, or let's just call it being home study approved. 4 adopted within 4 to 6 months. 1 adopted within 7 to 9 months. So that's, 8, 9. So that's 9 adopted in under a year. and 6 adopted over a year. It took over a year. Okay, let's see. Fall throughs were right about industry average. So I think it was right around 25%, but we had only 3 people. So we had 5 fall throughs and 3 of those lost money. The rest did not lose money. And most of those fall throughs were with matches from less than a month to 2 months. Our client demographics of our new clients Q1, 80% white, 20% white mixed, 19 were married and 1 single. And here's another fantastic stat that we first saw last year at the end of the year. We saw more people at the end of last year, more of the babies that were adopted had no exposures. I haven't seen that in a long time. So once again, and we're just looking at Q1, 7 out of the 15 placements had no exposures. 3 had mild alcohol, meaning probably within, right before they found out they were pregnant. That's not uncommon. 3 had marijuana. We barely consider that a drug because we see it pretty often. 1 Suboxone, 1 Subutex, 1 methadone, and then we also marked that 1 had a Hep C. So we're kind of seeing a little bit of everything. We're seeing meth a little bit on the rise, and I'm also seeing a lot of mental health on the rise. Most of our referrals, and I think this speaks to our amazing partners, most of our referrals are coming from the agencies and attorneys that we work with. So I want to say thank you to them because obviously you are trusting us and the work that we do, and you're seeing the amount of effort we are putting into some of those foundational pillars, community and education and ethics. And so we thank you. We thank you, and that really feels good. And then the other 2 biggest buckets that we get our clients from are our past clients. Again, thank you so much for trusting in us to send your friends and people who reach out to you to RG Adoption Consulting. And then finally, social media, the power of social media. So that's some of our stats. Our podcast is doing really well. We're in like the top 10% of fastest growing podcasts, which is so exciting. And I don't think I made that up. I'm pretty sure that that's what our social media marketing person told us. And we have almost 5,000 streams, and we just launched not too long ago. We're just in our 2nd season, so not quite 100 episodes yet. And I'm just going to mention, and we'll link them below, our top 5 episodes from our podcast. And season 2 is doing really great. So we are growing. But our top 5 are single motherhood, the challenges of being a single mother with Carrie Hackett is number 1. This adoption story will change how you view birth moms with birth mom Katie Mejia. The 3rd most popular was the adoption home study process. And that was one of the first ones I did where I walk you through the home study. And then the 4th most popular is Amy Imber, the home study, the first step in the adoption process. So our home study episodes did really well. And then our 5th most popular episode is the shift in adoption practices with Lori Shelton. So 4 of those are from season 1 and 1 of those is from season 2. So keep listening, keep tuning in to the Adoption Roadmap podcast. Go back and take a listen to those top 5. They're top 5 for a reason. People are getting a lot of value from them. And listen, I have a big, huge favor to ask of you. If you listen to our podcast and you haven't yet left a review on Apple Podcast or rated our podcast anywhere else that you listen, would you mind doing that so we can continue to grow and reaching more people who are hoping to adopt or who are adoptive parents and want to learn such important things that you need to know if you're adopting? I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much. I hope this was insightful, if nothing else. And I look forward to being back again next week. Bye-bye. Have a great week.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Adoption Roadmap podcast. If you did, I have a few favors to ask of you. First, please hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And while you're at it, I'd love to hear your takeaways. Please write a review and let me know what you liked. And if you have a question or a suggestion on what you'd like to hear, I'd love to hear that too. Please shoot me an email at support@rgadoptionconsulting.com and let me know what you'd like to hear about. And if you have a question, I may just answer it online. Thanks again for listening. Tune in every Wednesday and Friday morning for a brand new episode of the Adoption Roadmap podcast. Until next time, bye-bye.